Hello there, it's Hedgehog Bob. I'm a friend of Shepreth Wildlife Park, a fantastic place. But today we're in my garden, which I share with my wife. We've been here 21 years and we love wildlife. I do a lot of wildlife photography locally. So today I'm going to talk about wildlife and what you can do in your garden, habitats and protecting wildlife, encouraging it to come into your garden. It's one of the biggest things we can do as an individual. There's world problems we know with extinction and habitat loss, but it's just something that we can do, small things in the garden. And so just come on my little journey and we'll see what we can find and what we can do. Thank you. Creating habitats isn't that difficult. You don't need a big garden. It's just a matter of making use of the space you've got. So if you've got a small part of the garden that you can let go wild, let the grass grow, it'll encourage lots of wildlife to come and visit your garden. Take for instance this is a small log pile that I put down. It's got lots of hollows in it for birds and mice, bank voles to come and visit the garden. There's some food out for the birds today, and what's left, the wood mice will come in tonight and finish that off, so that's great. In the background there's a hedgehog house. Nothing in it at the moment, but it's there just in case they want to use it. And then again here, lots of garden waste we put here. Rather than putting it in your green bin or taking it down to the local tip, put it in the corner of your garden. A great haven for hedgehogs and other wildlife. Talking of letting part of your garden go wild, this is a patch of lawn that we've got at the bottom of the garden. I haven't cut it for about 10 years, so we've just let it grow and let it die back. So it's a great habitat. We've got bank voles living in here, field voles, shrew have been seen in here, common shrew. Hedgehogs come and forage in here at night time, and all the stems are left there for the insects to use to shelter in. And so it takes no looking after at all, and it's just here for the wildlife and for us to enjoy the wildlife. Here's another part of the garden we've let go wild a bit. Log piles in here, lovely old bit of stump there, which we know we've got lesser stag beetles in there. They need that sort of habitat. So we share it with the compost bins, so that's okay. But hedgehogs often forage around here. We've got a mixture here. We've got a bit of holly growing there. Ivy is a fantastic plant for wildlife. There's a bit of hawthorn over there. Simple things. It doesn't have to be much. Simple things we can do for wildlife. Bird boxes are something, again, quite simple to do. You can even make them. It's quite easy. The British Trust for Ornithology have a great website and it shows you how to make bird boxes for different species. This box is suitable for really a great tip, but would you believe we've had wren nesting in here several seasons running, and there's a small bit of bamboo there. It uses that as a perch before it hops into the box. So bird boxes are really important. Here's another one here on my neighbour's tree that he's allowed me to put up. We've had coal tits nesting in there the last couple of years. So just think about it. If you've got a bird box and you're not sure where to put it, really you're best to use it sort of north to east facing, because the prevailing winds are from the west, and it will stop the wind blowing into the nest, and it will also be in the shade, so it won't be in full sun if you put it south. That's likely to happen, and the young would bake. So think about bird boxes. Great for wildlife. What I like to call nooks and crannies in these old sleepers on this raised bed. You can see we've got some stones there with ivy on. There's a bit of bird food there, or for the bank voles and mice to come in later on. But we have had bank voles coming out of these gaps and common shrew. So again, it doesn't have to be tidy. In fact, the more untidy it is, the better really. And the wildlife will come to your garden. And another piece there. Where often we put a bit of food down there, and especially the bank voles, they'll come out during the daytime, and then wood mice later on. One of the best ways to encourage birds to come into your garden is obviously supplying them with food, and bird feeders are essential really, and you'll get all manner of species depending on what food you use. So we've got a nice mix here in this feeder, and just behind it you've got some sunflower hearts, which a lot of the birds love. We've got a lovely colony of about 40 house sparrows that nest nearby, and they come in every day, and they've got a safe haven in the bamboo behind, so they'll come into there. When it's safe, they'll come to the feeders, and then they'll go back to the bamboo. So when you're putting a bird feeder out in your garden, make sure you put it fairly close, not too close, so if a cat's hiding in there, it can jump out on them. Put them fairly close to a shrub or small tree or something like that, so they've got a quick exit. We often get sparrowhawks visiting the garden, so they need to get out of the way fairly smartish when they come. Providing a shelter for hedgehogs is another easy and simple thing to do. They can be bought, but this one was made. Pop it into the garden. This again is facing east, so it hasn't got the prevailing westerly winds blowing into the box, and it's not occupied at the moment, but it's there. We've got a wild hog at the moment visiting the garden. We can tell that by the amount of poop we've got in the garden in the mornings, so that's always a good thing to look for. Look for that. Even at this time of year, it's fairly mild despite a few cold nights, and hedgehogs will actually be out and about looking for food. Here's another great idea, one of these ground feeders for birds, so it allows the little birds to get in there and feed safely, and they're protected from attack from sparrowhawk or larger birds coming in and disturbing them. So try and provide different areas in your garden for bird food so they can feed at different areas. So things like goldfinches, they like to be feeding on Niger seed or sunflower hearts, but they prefer to be away from the other main feeders, so try and hang them up in a tree somewhere away in a quieter area of your garden. This is ideal, the ground feeder, for dunnocks, robin and the smaller birds like that. A log pile here, again great for insects, small mammals will be using that during the daytime, foraging for food, bank voles especially. Wood mice might even make a nest in there, and it's fairly close to water. This is more for the birds. Again, it's vital for them to get a drink, and also to preen themselves, wash and preen themselves. So simple ideas. You don't need expensive bird baths, where we've got one behind us, but it's just an additional place for them to come and feed. Here's another old stump I've got here. Look, and I've just put some bird seed on there, so when I'm out of the way, the blackbirds, robins and sparrows and that, they'll all come in and start feeding on it. So a deeper bird bath this time, and the bigger birds will come in here, so the doves, the wood pigeons, blackbirds, so they all need to bathe and preen and have a drink. Bug hotels are a great idea. They're fairly simple to make. These are made out of old pallets and bits of brick and anything you can find really, and just put it in a fairly quiet place. This is fairly near to where we have some wildflowers growing, and we just leave it to themselves really. So lots of spiders will use that, so then the birds will come down and take the spiders. We often see the wren around here helping itself to spiders, and long-tailed tits taking spider cocoons to help build their nests. So they're a lovely idea. Another bird box for you. Okay, nicely sheltered and out the way of predators. Here's the area where we had some wildflowers, and these are the old cuttings I've removed and left there, and I often see a wood mouse running around there at night time, and it takes you to the pond area. and it's not very big. It's about 8 foot long, 4 foot, 5 foot across. It needs to be quite deep. So this is about 3 foot deep. So when it freezes over, the animals can go down below, keep safe. We've got smooth newts in here at the moment, and it looks like a couple of pregnant females, but they're best to be seen at night time. So if you come out with a head torch and your binoculars is really a good idea. Have a look at the pond, stand back about 6 feet away, use your binoculars, train the light on the pond, and you'll be amazed at what you see. You get a much better view. Here's a perch I put in here for the dragonflies, so I have dragonflies visiting. Lots of dragonfly larvae in here. Newts, frogs, toads, lots of snails. If you can put a pond in your garden, that's about the best thing you can do for wildlife. Give it a go. I'm fortunate enough to be a home carer for hedgehogs from Shepreth Hedgehog Hospital, and at the moment we have a hedgehog that came to me about 2 weeks ago, Henrietta. She went to sleep about 2 nights after I got her. She woke up about 3 days ago because it was quite mild, and came out and had some food and went back to sleep again because it got very frosty again. So that's not a problem, they often do that. We'll just monitor her there, we'll keep feeding her, and if she's taking the food we know she's out and about, and eventually she'll wake up properly, and we'll release her into the garden. When we moved in about 20 years ago, I put a lovely mixed hedge in. You can probably hear the house sparrow chirping away there. As I said, we've got about 40 in the area, and they use this for roosting and for perching before they go over to the feeders. And we've had blackbird nesting in here, song thrush, green finch just in here in amongst the ivy. There was a wren last year. And as I say, you know, the ivy is really important. It's a good food source. The berries this time of year, it's just coming to the end, but the thrush family, which includes the blackbird, they'll make really good use of the berries. And so the insects will hide in amongst the ivy, which the birds will feed on. But hedgerows, yeah, a lovely thing to have. Another simple idea, and it doesn't take much room in your garden, is corrugated sheeting. This is only about 2.5 feet by 2 feet, and it's just laid in amongst the hedgerow. And I've scarified some moss out as well, left that on top, so nesting birds will use that later on whilst nest building. And you can see I put a bit of bird food down there, and the birds will soon come. So once I get out of the way, the robins, sparrows and blackbirds, they'll all come in and start feeding. But you'll notice there's a bit of a gap underneath the corrugated iron there. Well, that's where the bank voles in the daytime, they'll come out and feed on that. And then later on at night time, wood mice tend to come out at night. They'll be feeding on it as well, finishing anything that's left. Part of the mixed hedgerow is this lovely wintering flowering honeysuckle. Really nice. There's a bee there actually. So provides food at this time of year for them, vital. And next to that we've got some more corrugated sheeting. Again, if you're lucky, and I haven't seen one yet, but hopefully slow worms and things like that will come in and stay under there and warm up in the sunshine. Hopefully grass snakes. This is a wildflower area we have in the front garden, and we put a load of yellow rattle in 2 years ago, and that's parasitic to the grass, so it will actually reduce the actual growth of the grass and allow the wildflowers to grow better. It doesn't look much at the moment, but that will soon be full of flowers in the springtime. And so we're fortunate enough to have a stream run alongside us, so it creates this lovely corridor for the bats. So we have common and soprano pipistrelles come and feed on the actual insects that are feeding on the wildflowers. I had muntjac on this bit. Once it's grown up, muntjac, badger, fox, and then again the bank voles, wood mice, field voles, and even common shrew. Here's a sparrow box I put up a couple of seasons ago. Look, there's a blue tit just investigating the central chamber, and they've actually nested in there for the last couple of seasons, the blue tits. Sparrows aren't really interested, but that's lovely to see them. So this is just the blue tits checking out a potential nest site, so they won't be nesting for just yet, but it won't be long. Lovely. Here's a great yew that I planted a few years ago, but if you look at it here, can you see it on the ground? It's here. So this is a muntjac, typical behaviour, where they'll scrape away the earth below where they're feeding. You can see the browse line on this yew. You can see over here, that's normal sort of growth, and then over here it's been eaten by the muntjac. And again, they will often do this, scrape on the ground and actually defecate in that area. Can't see it at the moment, but yeah, muntjac. They're here to stay, and they never asked to be here. So it does annoy me a little bit when people say they're a bit of a nuisance and they shouldn't be here. So it's not their fault, it's wildlife. We must do all we can to protect our wonderful British wildlife. Okay, here's some food here, bird seed I put down, so the birds will come and feed on that. And then at night time, hedgehogs are quite happy to forage on bird seed. They'll be quite happy for that tonight, especially if it gets cold again. This is our fab Christmas tree. It's about 50 feet tall now and still growing, but we absolutely love it. We've had greenfinch nesting in here, goldcrest as well, lots of wood pigeons, and it's great ground cover as well for all the small mammals that visit the garden. And in fact, we've even had tawny owl. They often come and roost in the garden, and because there is because there are small mammals in the garden, bank voles, wood mice and things, they would actually come and visit the garden. And in fact, one evening a couple of years ago, I came out in the garden and a tawny owl sat on one of the bird feeders that I showed you earlier on. You can hear the dunnock there calling. Lovely. Lots of other birds around. So we live in a small village. We've got a busy high street. You can probably hear the cars going by, but it doesn't mean to say you can't have all this wonderful wildlife. And just, as I say, simple things. It doesn't have to be expensive. All this wood, simple things. Just put it down. All this garden waste, put it down, and the wildlife will come. Keep enjoying, our wonderful British wildlife. I absolutely adore it, and we've got to protect it and do all we can to help them survive. Take care now. Goodbye, Hedgehog Bob.